Hello, hello. This will be a quick one. Hope everyone's doing good today. So, um, I'm doing this one because I want to give people some a level of hope, right? And it's not really me. It's just kind of making you aware of the things that you can already do. Um, as you see in the title, this one is called "How to Request a Vaccine Exemption." So, we're gonna go ahead and look on how to go ahead and do that. So, Google is our friend. On. Uh, Share my screen and we'll go ahead and figure this out together. Let's do that too. Screen two. Okay. Let's make it full. Okay. So I've got the Google search and I've got DuckDuckGo, right? So we're going to see if there's any difference in what comes up for either one. So let's go ahead and type in um, vaccine um, exemption by state. There we go. All right, so let's do let's go this worldpopulation.com. Let's go to the national. Let's go here. And I will make this bigger. We'll get rid of you. All right. States with, and I'll put all the links for this in the description and the bio and stuff. All right. States with religious and philosophical exemptions from school immunization requirements. So this is just schools. We'll go into other things as well, but this is really the big thing. All 50 states have legislation requiring specified vaccines for students, although exemptions vary from state to state. All school immunization laws grant exemptions for children for medical reasons. There are 44 states and Washington, D.C. that grant religious exemptions for people who have religious objections to immunizations. Currently, 15 states allow philosophical exemptions for children whose parents object to immunizations because of personal, moral, or other beliefs. Many states align their vaccine requirements with recommendations from Center of Disease Control, aka the CDC, and Prevention's Advisory Committee on Immunizations Practices. At this time, no state requires children to receive a COVID-19 vaccine for school entry. Below the maps are examples of enacted laws related to school immunizations. Non-medical state exemptions for school immunizations. So if you see it in solid, they provide a religious exemption. So if you're in the state of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, any one of these solid blue states, you have a religious exemption. You can get a religious exemption. In the state of Texas, you can get a personal belief exemption. So it doesn't. I guess you, from a secular point of view, you don't have to assign any port of religion to it. You can just have a personal belief, and that's enough. Source adapted from the LexisNexis State Net Database and Immunization Action Coalition 2019. Existing statute in Minnesota and Louisiana does not explicitly recognize religion as a reason for claiming the exemption. However, as a practical matter, the non medical exemption may encompass religious beliefs. In Virginia, parents can receive a personal exemption only for the HPV vaccine. Missouri, personal beliefs exemption does not apply to public schools, only child care facilities. Enacted laws. Connecticut House Bill 6423 removes religious exemption for vaccine requirements for children in grade 12 or below. Wow, Connecticut. And then Colorado requires person seeking non-medical exemption, either religious or personal belief, to submit a certificate of completion of online educational module or a certificate of non-medical exemption. Goal of 95% of the students' population requires to be vaccinated. Okay. So, and this just goes through pretty much everything that graph showed pertaining to religious exemptions and philosophical exemptions. Some states have both, like Arizona, and some states have just religious, and there's some states that have that. So this is a great resource to know. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's see here. A religious exemption indicates that there is a provision in the statute that allows parents to exempt their children from vaccinations if it contradicts their sincere religious beliefs. Philosophical exemption indicates the statutory language does not restrict the exemption to purely religious or spiritual beliefs. For example, Maine allows restriction based on moral, philosophical, and other personal beliefs. Minnesota allows objections based on conscientiously held beliefs of parents or guardians. So, various sources, good information on it. So, these are states for, children. So, no children are forced to get this. Now, what about you as a worker? You as a tax-paying member of society? Tax-paying member of society. Let's take a look here. We save that. Um, and then let's see here. We're going to go back to Google. How to get a vaccine exemption for workers. As COVID-19 vaccine mandate rises, religious exemptions grow. So there's an article here from the AP. Um, let's see here. Interesting. Here's a by President Joe Biden, sweeping new vaccine mandate covers more than 100 million Americans, including paid executives. Great. Uh, in states, mask and vaccine requirements vary, but most offer exemptions for certain medical conditions or religious or philosophical objections, just like we went over. The allowance was enshrined in the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964, which says employers must make reasonable accommodation for employees who object to work requirements because of sincerely held beliefs. Man, without the civil rights, we'd all be messed up. Put some employees in a position to determine what is legitimate religious belief and what is a dodge. And see, that's where that gets murky because it's interesting. You know, I'm no Catholic, but look at it here. Many major religious denominations have no objection to COVID-19 vaccines, but the rollout has prompted heated debates because of the long-term role the cell line derived from fetal tissue have played directly or indirectly in the research and development of various vaccines, aborted baby tissue. Moreover, Roman Catholic leaders in New Orleans, St. Louis went so far to call Johnson's COVID-19 morally compromised, and J&J stressed that there is no fetal tissue in the vaccine. Moreover, the Vatican's doctrine office has said it's morally acceptable for Catholics to receive COVID-19, so they sold y'all out. The Catholics are based on research and use cell derived from aborted fetus tissue. Pope Francis himself said it would be a suicide not to get the shot and be fully vaccinated with the Pfizer formula. Well, there's your Pope, if you believe in that. So there's definitely a lot of particular the pushback on this. So I'll put this link as well. Let me open up a little sticky note. Sticky note for the first one. And then sticky note for that one. Boom. All right. So again, let's get to the crux of this. What do you got to do? How to handle employees' request for a medical exemption. A request for example due to personal preferences not to receive is not protected by law. Employer should reiterate the company's policy. Man, look at that. Human resources. So well, let's see how human resources wants to handle this because it's amazing. Let's see here. No. Many employees require receive vaccinations to reduce the spread of communicable diseases. C19. Employers who require employees to receive vaccination know the federal law allows employees to ask to be exempted from the requirement due to medical and religious reasons. American Disabilities Act ADA requires employees to provide reasonable accommodations for qualified, so not to create undue hardship to the employer or pose a direct threat to the employees. Civil Rights Act, shout out to that. Determine whether the employer is covered by the ADA and the title in the Civil Rights Act. All employers, including state and local government employers with 15 or more employees, are covered under um, the ADA and the Civil Rights Act. Employers also covered by the title. However, the disability accommodation government employers must comply with Rehabilitation Act of 1973 instead of ADA. So interesting. Ensure the policy and procedure exists before handling the accommodations. Review requests for exemptions from vaccine requirements. Initiate interactive process. Interesting. Uh, wow. So they want to discuss it with you. So what they're going to do is, upon learning the possible need for a reasonable accommodation, employers should engage in the process which the employee, his or her healthcare provider, religious leader, and the employers share information about the nature of the disability, religious belief, and the limitation on receiving an employer required vaccination. This process is referred to as an interactive process and involves a good faith effort by the employer and the employee to discuss the employee's specific circumstances. The purpose of this discussion is to determine what, if any, accommodations may be needed. Hmm. They want to speak to the clergy. They almost like you're gonna have to have your pastor call. That's crazy. Religious accommodations, the employee should be asked to provide an explanation of his or her sincerely held beliefs, religious beliefs, and if necessary, appropriate documentation from his or her religious leader regarding the religious belief that conflicts with the employer's vaccination. Interesting. So, what happens if you don't belong to a church, but you've been a practicing Christian for your life, or a practicing um, you know, uh, Muslim, or you know, I don't know, Con- Confucian, Confucian. You know, take your pick, or Sikh, or whatnot. Right? Interesting. Okay. Determine whether the employee has a disability under ADA. Determine whether the employee is sincerely held. Okay. Here we're getting to the meat here. Determine whether the employee has a sincerely held religious belief. The Civil Rights Act requires employers to accommodate only those religious beliefs that are sincerely held. I wonder how they figure that out. Because the definition of religion is broad and protects beliefs and practices from which employers may be unfamiliar. Employers should ordinarily assume that the employee's request for religious accommodations is based on sincerely held belief, so on good faith. If, however, the employer has an objective basis for questioning either of the religious nature and sincerity of the particular belief or practice, employer would be justified in seeking additional supporting information. So, if they don't necessarily understand your beliefs, we need to know more. Um, See if this creates undue hardship or a direct threat. This is good. This is good. I'm going to put this too. This is from Sherm, which is HR professionals. So let's go ahead and I'll put this link there too. But we're still trying to answer the question. You know, we're 14 minutes in. How do we get one? Maybe it's as simple as just asking your provider for a form. It seems like that's what it is. How to get a vaccine exemption at work. I think you just ask at work. It sounds like there's not like a specific form. I think it just boils down to you talking to your HR department, really. That's what it appears it is. Let's see. Well, here's one from a law firm, Prince Law Firm. The much anticipated vaccine corona FDA, occupational safety, OSHA, equal opportunity commissions, religious exemptions. Under the Civil Rights Act 1964, individuals have the right to be free from discrimination basis of religion. Employees are required to accommodate religious observance. Religious, okay. Okay, so court case here. Court recognized that veganism is some circumstances may constitute a sincerely held religious belief. Court exempted an employee from a flu shot requirement. Once an employer determines that a true religious exemption exists, the employer must make accommodation for the employee. Such accommodations include reducing mask requirements, modifying work duties to comply with social distancing, adjusting the employer's schedule, allowing the employer to work from home. If an employer can establish an employee is seeking exemption for a non-religious reason, employer may deny the employee's request. In a case of Third Circuit Fallon versus Mercy Catholic Medical Center, court denied employees' request for exemption, finding the employees' concerns were really about health effects of the flu vaccine, meaning they were actually medical rather than religious. So you got to know what you're going for. If you're going for a religious exemption, you go for that. If you're going for like a personal beliefs, medical health um belief, it's you got to be very specific and targeted about the type of exemption that you're looking for. Um, so it really just depends on what your religious held beliefs are. But that seems to be it. This seems to be very free form. I'm going to save this here. It's going to be pretty free form in regards to what type of exemption you can get. So it just boils down, just a quick recap. It boils down to the conversation you have with the HR department at the place that you work. To me, it sounds like the religious exemption is the I don't want to say easier, but your best chance at um I guess the what's the right terminology here? The religious exemption seems to hold more weight than the personal belief exemption. And obviously the medical, if you can get a doctor to say, hey, for medical reasons is not good, that's going to hold weight too. But what you're going to look for is finding your exemption through the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I don't know that Roman numeral, or the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, and then find out what your provider, your place of employment, what they are particularly under, or making sure they adhere to these one or both of these particular things. And I think you'll be fine. You know, mandates are one thing, but you still have rights, and it's about knowing what your rights are. There's no specific forms, it's free form. Now, that's how you go about getting a religious or medical exemption. And here are a couple court cases that go over those, and there's probably way more court cases than that. But I hope that was helpful. Religious exemption in less than 20 minutes. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. If there's anything that you think we can add, please add them in the comments. If I'm wrong, if any of this information is incorrect, like I said, I'll put all the sources in the description for you guys. But other than that, I hope this helps. Hope you feel less pressure. Hope you feel better. I hope you feel like you still have a choice and you still have rights. And this is Real Talk, Real People. As always, keep it real.